Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Nice to see everyone here. We're going to go ahead and get started. I think there's still a few other folks who might join us, but we'll go ahead and get started. Before we jump into today's session, just a couple of reminders. First of all, please say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know what region, what country you're calling in from. Also, you can enable translation or captions by going to the lower right-hand corner, clicking the more, the three dots where it says more, and you'll see something that says captions, and you can enable translation there. If you're having technical issues at any point during this meeting, you can email meetings@NASA Globe, and someone will respond to you. Thanks. Go ahead, next slide, please, Carol. Today, we are going to highlight some of the Globe science activation, some of the science activation projects that are affiliated with Globe. We have 5 projects. We'll begin with an overview of science activation, and then we'll dive into each one. We're hoping that today, by the end of today, you will not only learn about the connection between Globe and science activation and the accomplishments of these 5 projects, but you'll also learn about something that can help you think about your work and support your work where you are. And at the end of the 5 presentations, we'll have some time for questions and answers and then a short wrap up. Next slide, please. Really quickly, this is one of a series of learning sessions that are designed to extend our work that occurred during the annual meeting in July. We want to continue to celebrate the Globe community and enable everyone to come together, strengthen the connections across the community, and give folks an opportunity to learn from each other. Our hope is that as a result of all of the learning sessions, folks will be more engaged with Earth system science, understand more about how we can connect to some of the science work happening through Globe, and provide you with some information and ideas that can enhance your work in your region and where you are. Next slide, please. We have a few more that are planned, and there will be more coming in the new year. 2 sessions that are planned in December. One that's continuing the conversation around Globe alumni. We started with a session in October. We'll have a second session in December, with a 3rd session to come in the new year where folks can think more about strategies for engaging Globe alumni. In December, also on the 10th, we will have highlights from 2025 from across all Globe regions. And then we are also looking towards planning another session about lake observations, likely to occur in January, but timing is still to be determined. So please follow the Globe website under the 2025 annual meeting. You will see updates there. And we will post in Mighty Networks as well. So continue to follow for all of the information on the upcoming learning sessions, and registration links will be in those sessions. Next slide, please. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kim Holloway, and I also just wanted to say hello and welcome Lynn Chambers. I'll turn it over to Kim to talk a little bit about the Science Activation Program.
Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jackie, for inviting me to introduce Science Activation. My name is Kim Holloway. I'll be offering a quick overview of the program and some key resources you can take away today. Next slide. So SciAct, or Science Activation, is NASA's strategic effort to connect all people everywhere with the wonder and relevance of NASA science. So as opposed to having each NASA mission do its own isolated education outreach, SciAct consists of a competitively selected portfolio of project teams from organizations all over the nation that each and together make up a coordinated and leveraged network of partnerships, learning resources, and experiences. And so together, we're connecting discoveries, data, and expertise from all 5 NASA science divisions with learners of all ages, from K to 12 students and teachers to informal learners and educators to citizen scientists and more. So that's with NASA Earth science, heliophysics, planetary science, biological and physical sciences, and astrophysics. So all of the divisions, not just Earth. But our mission is really simple and powerful. We share the story and the science and the adventure of NASA research to activate minds and really promote a deeper understanding of our world and beyond. And the vision for that is really to increase learners' active participation in the advancement of human knowledge. And at Globe, you guys know all about that. Next slide. So last year, SciAct teams facilitated more than 119 million interactions with NASA science assets across all 50 states and US territories and Washington, D.C. And we offered everything from hands-on data experiences to safely participating in the wonder of the solar eclipse and much more. And over 1,000 NASA subject matter experts and scientists worked directly with SciAct projects to bring their NASA science expertise into the learning environment. And so these numbers and the ones you see on the screen, which you can learn more about, like getting to that link, they don't just reflect the scale, but also the ability to really bring NASA's rich science into diverse learning contexts. And that sets a strong foundation for grasping just how rich this globe interaction is that's happening in the 5 SciAct projects that you'll learn about today. So next slide, I want to share with you a searchable resource database that we maintain, which includes lesson plans, activity guides, data sets, expert connect opportunities, citizen science projects, there's classroom modules and much more. There's really something for everyone in this catalog that is made up of resources from all of the 30 plus science activation project teams all over the nation. Next slide. And I'll just want to say that reiterating, SciAct is all about joining you in making NASA science accessible and relevant and actionable for all. And that includes all of us and everyone that Globe touches too. So I am really looking forward to hearing the other talks today. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And you can learn more about science activation and the program at science.nasa.gov/learn.
Thank you so much, Kim. Also, there is a video. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but there is a video with a science activation overview.
Yeah, sure. So last year, sometime, we produced this really beautiful overview of the power of our program and the impact and potential that it has for really connecting NASA science with everyone. I am in there, and many of our project team leads are in there, just talking about like some of the work they do and why it really matters. And so, if you guys want to pop that link into the chat, it's just a really short kind of opportunity to feel inspired about this cool NASA program.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.
Again, all of those links, the links to the impact report, to the catalog, and to that video, they're all in the chat. So please feel free to take a look at those when you have a moment. Our first speaker today is going to be Teresa. And before we begin, I just wanted to let you all know you can, as Teresa's speaking or through any of our other speakers, please feel free to add any of your questions in the chat. As I mentioned, we'll have time for questions and answers at the end, and we can respond to all of your questions at that point. So with that, I'll hand it over to Teresa.
Thanks, Jackie. Hi, everybody. As Jackie said, I'm Teresa Schwerin, Vice President of Education at the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, and I'm PI of the NASA Earth Science Education Collaborative. And I guess you can advance to my slides, that'd be great. The NESIC partnership includes 4 principal organizations: IGES, Goddard Space Flight Center, Trina Farrell is co-PI, Langler Research Center, and co-PI Jessica Taylor, and JPL. Our external evaluation team is at Oregon State University STEM Research Center. If you go to the next slide, this is an overview of everything that we do under NESIC, and our cross-organizational team conducts work in 3 highly interconnected areas. But at the center of all of our activities is the goal of enabling broad participation in NASA Earth STEM, authentic NASA Earth STEM, by learners of all ages, from kids to seniors, recognizing that learning is a lifelong journey and continuous process throughout our lives. It's life-wide, and that what we learn in multiple contexts and experiences, expanding beyond the classroom, and life deep, that developing a deeper and more meaningful understanding involves connecting, applying, and adapting knowledge across contexts. So the three areas of our work include citizen science with Globe Observer. Our team developed the Globe Observer mobile app, working with the Globe DIS team, and supporting resources and experiences to engage citizen scientists to track changes in their local environment that complement and help to interpret NASA and other satellite data. And just wanted to acknowledge that Holly Cole leads our Globe Observer effort. And I noticed that Christian Weaver is also on the call, and she is Holly's deputy, so, as well as several of our team members are on today. Science investigations with NASA. So we develop and offer STEM experiences that engage learners in the scientific process and learning how they can use NASA assets to investigate Earth system phenomena across a full range of engagement, from inspiring interest to full research projects. And some of the examples of our work are Globe Field Campaigns, our SEAS Earth System Explorers research experience, and experiences through camps and library programs and more. And we don't do any of this alone. We've fostered dozens of strategic partnerships, including partnerships across SciAct teams and all of the Globe SciAct projects that are here today. So if you go to the next slide, just wanted to share some of our examples of our outcomes and accomplishments over the last 10 years. So we're enabling broader participation in NASA Earth STEM. Globe Observer has lowered the barrier for entry to the Globe program and extended beyond formal education, with over 300,000 registered Globe observers who submitted 1.7 million Globe observations, which include over 3.6 million photos, 149,000 volunteer hours, and have resulted in over 40 science publications. 30 of those are peer-reviewed publications. If you go to the next slide, we provide opportunities to engage with NASA's Earth disciplinary content and scientific inquiry. Our evaluation is showing that these efforts are inspiring interest in STEM and development of learners' STEM identity and advancing understanding of the process of science. We've had over 100,000 participate in our learner-centered experiences, projects and research experiences through internships, campaigns, the International Virtual Science Symposium, Civil Air Patrol mission, SciStarter Girl Scouts, Globe Goes to Camp, and more. I've had over 200 webinars and workshops to connect educators with NASA subject matter experts in content, demonstrate data tools, and showcase student research. And just wanted to highlight the graph at the bottom left, which shows impact on educator confidence related to 4 science practices that was part of the evaluation of the Cloud Eclipse Educator Professional Development. That was a collaboration with Globe Mission Earth, which Kevin Sykowski is going to talk about. We have several of our Earth System Explorer student research teams present at AGU, their team presentations, 9 published science papers with student interns as authors and co-authors, and 5 Regeneron competition finalists. And the graphic at the bottom right is from a poster by one of the Regeneron finalists who did research on predicting large wildfires using machine learning based on NASA MODIS data. If you go to the next slide, we also been utilizing external partners to leverage our reach and effectiveness with over 80 collaborating organizations. We've developed some unique models of high impact partnerships, particularly Civil Air Patrol, working with library, with camps, Texas Master Naturalists, and lifelong learners. These partnerships range from organizations that disseminate and promote our offerings, that adapt our resources for their audiences, and are co-developing and co-implementing programs. So I wanted to mention 2 on the right. I mentioned Civil Air Patrol. They are co-presenting with NESIC about the aviation weather mission that they did this past summer at the December AGU meeting. I also wanted to mention the New Bay Clouds game, which many of you know about, that was co-developed with Queens Public Library. And we're collaborating with the NASA at My Library SciAct team that have distributed these to over 300 public libraries in the United States to use in their programs. We're just now getting evaluation surveys back from those libraries, getting lots of great information, including how they've used this game in their programs, which is getting folded into our library guide on the Globe Observer website. And just to go to the last slide, just some highlights in terms of building successful partnerships. I wanted to mention the September 24th Globe Learning Session, where we took a deep dive as part of celebrating Globe Observer and on our approach to partnerships. So that really gives you a lot more detail on how we've worked with these partners. But just to note that these partnerships, they can take many different forms. They can be very simple, or they can be, evolve into sustainable long-term partnerships. But some of the things that they have in common to be successful, they need to be complementary. We need to have be mutually beneficial, common goals. And they do take time, especially if you're co-developing or co-creating, they take time to build and develop. So those are just a few insights from our work. And I believe my time may be up, so I am going to stop there, and I will check the chat for comments and look forward to hearing from the other presenters.
Thank you so much, Teresa. It's amazing, all of the learners that you've engaged and all of the work that all of your accomplishments and all of the work that you've been able to do. This is really great to hear about. Thank you for sharing. Our next speaker is going to be Kevin, where we will hear about Globe Mission Earth. Kevin, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, thanks, Jackie. Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Psychowski from the University of Toledo, and I'm the PI for Globe Mission Earth. And our first slide here shows some of the people involved and our webpage on the Globe website. If we can go to the next page, it shows our reach map and our partners. So we have kind of big partners and little partners. So we have the University of Toledo, Boston University, NASA Langley, Tennessee State, WestEd, and University of New Hampshire, kind of the big partners. And then we have some smaller partners in Palmyra Cove and Xavier University. And you can see where, the people we've worked with. And one of the things we found is, working with people locally or in your region really makes a big difference. So let's go to the next slide. So this is, we work with teachers and then their students. And I wanted to highlight our Globe Sparks course that we've rolled out. We tested this past summer, and then many people are using it. There's a QR code if you're interested in the Sparks course. WestEd was a major developer of the course, and it's to get new teachers into Globe. It could be used anywhere in the world, and it's online. It can be facilitated. It doesn't have to be facilitated. So if you are interested in getting more information about that, go to that QR code and fill out the form. But I think one of the things I also want to mention, we've been doing more non-traditional professional development with teachers, more working with the school districts on their PD days, and following up with teachers throughout the school year is a big deal. Next slide. Now I'll highlight a few other things we've been doing. We have a kids club that's virtual to help support our elementary teachers and students. So it's virtual. NASA Langley's heavily involved. So getting the kids to observe clouds and then leaf green up kind of type of things. And they have a journal. And so then they present their observations on the webinar each week. Next slide. And then we work with pre-service teachers. Tennessee State and David Padgett have led this up and spreading to more HBCUs. But we have a undergrad, grad working group, and I think it has about 60 people in it, professors. So myself and like Peter Garrick at Boston University, we implemented working with our pre-service teachers to get them certified in Globe. But also we work with other majors, geography, science, etc. And this is international as well. We have some teachers in other countries around the world, not teachers, professors that participate. Next slide. Also, just want to highlight the summer intern program. University of Texas leads this up, and we help out with urban heat island, air quality, some other topics. Teresa's group does this a lot too. But I wanted to highlight this because high schoolers in the U.S. Should apply to do this, and to get a NASA internship, and it's virtual, and boy, really good projects that students do. Next slide. We have kind of two focus areas. We have air quality and urban heat island are two of our scientific focus areas. So the air quality, we hosted a workshop using small sensors in May, and then we then applied to have PM 2.5 to be a globe protocol. So currently we're working on that. I'm not sure how long it will take us. We have a few slowdowns going on. But that's, also using small sensors and then having students develop the sensors with our engineering working group. Next slide. And then this is just one activity. It comes out of the elementary globe book, Up in the Air. And it really connects well with the air quality, having the students have sticky paper and doing observations that way. Next slide. Just want to highlight our Urban Heat Island initiative. Usually October, December, and March through Globe. And then next slide. And just one thing that's really cool that it has a very international footprint. I wanted to highlight Ireland, Malta, and Israel work together on their "How Cool Is Your School" campaign, and then the schools from those different countries had a Zoom meeting, and the students presented on that Zoom meeting. It was really inspirational. We also have a lot of resources online on the Globe website for the Urban Heat Island Effect for students. Next slide. And of course, then the big thing is getting kids to do projects, authentic projects that are relevant to them, and then presenting them, and probably presenting them in more than one place. So locally, maybe at the Midwest or regional Globe meetings, maybe at the IVSS, and then other science fairs. And next slide. And I didn't want to forget, I wanted to highlight My NASA Data is a great resource. It has NASA data, and it takes, our students are using Globe, looking locally, and then My NASA Data has the professional data sets looking globally. Did I say it locally, globally? So this is a nice way to get the different spatial resolutions and types of data. And that's what I wanted to finish up with. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kevin. Really great to hear about all of those different lines of work as well. Really great ideas and a lot of really fascinating efforts. So thank you for sharing the spotlight there, spotlighting some of your work. Next up, we have Andy Henry from the Aaron Project, and we'll pass it over to Andy.
Thank you very much, Jackie. And really excited to see everybody here today. I'm Andy Henry. I'm a former PI of the Aaron Project, currently retired co-I. But I'm excited to be here today. Lisa Ogiamwani, our PI, could not join us, unfortunately. So you've got me. Anyway, the Aerocats and Rover Education Network is, of course, one of the SciAct programs, and our focus in our project is on doing experiential science with learners of all ages, but a lot of that focus is on the K-12 area, and we are about using NASA technologies and operation concepts to actually do NASA science. Most of our focus is in the Earth systems. So we'll start there and looking at those three things: technology, science, and operations. Our technologies are novel technologies largely that have been developed at NASA, Goddard Space Flight Institute partnership with Jeff Bland. We have aeropods, which are used for doing remote sensing. They're tethered kite-based systems. Aqua rovers, which are used for exploring water quality with in situ measurements, but at a distance from the user. And Terra rovers, which are for terrestrial explorations. And largely, we've been focused on surface temperature, and urban heat island with that package. We develop and build all those, and we supply them to participants in the program. Operations is really about how we do science in the field safely, collaboratively, so that we're able to continue to collect data and do this in the future. So next slide, please. So I stole this slide from the good folks at My NASA Data. Angie Rizzi shared it with me, and I just really like it. But we are focused on that sort of entry-level small data set. You know, we want to build data literacy with students, but as Angie likes to point out, and you know, they've shared with My NASA Data, in order to build data literacy and get to those large professionally curated data sets and big problem solving, we need to start student-centered. And so we're about students collecting their own data, small data sets, trying to make sense of that in an environment that is, you know, place-based, personal to them, where it has a better chance of the students actually understanding the data that they collect. Next slide, please. So we have students collect remotely sensed data and in situ data that's at a distance from the students. So not necessarily point-based, but maybe a transect or air column profile, something where they look at how data changes as it moves across spatial dimensions, as well as, but still in a local kind of environment, you know, as opposed to a single point-based data collection. And we scaffold these. Seem to be missing a picture there, but that's okay. Things disappear. You know, the approaches are scaffold from very entry level, simple projects and simple things that can be done, you know, at early grade levels or by beginning science explorers, to much more complex work with data sets and geographic information systems and things like that, engineering projects. Okay, next slide, please. So again, it allows users to collect their own data and look at how that data changes over a distance, and have a couple of examples here. In the upper right is an air column profile that looks at how, as you lift a kite and a sensor up through the air column, how do those parameters change? Wind speed, the temperature, barometric pressure, relative humidity. Students get to directly measure this, and then go back and try and make sense of that data. And you know, hopefully they'll experience things like the lapse rate and what happens at the boundary layer. We also have a Terra rover transect on the lower left, which looks at how, you know, how surfaces change as they're exposed to solar radiation, how different surfaces are heated differently, and they can drive this Terra rover around, and it's taking surface temperature and air temperature measurements every 2 seconds, and they can bring that back into a geographic information system or CODAP, something like that, and plot and analyze that data. And the same is true on the right with a rover transect, and that's driving around a little lake and taking measurements. In that case, it's a dissolved oxygen plot, but it also does nitrate, temperature, number of other parameters. So next slide, please. We also introduce students to My NASA Data. We're a Globe partner, and we love a lot of the Globe tools that we're able to use. My NASA Data is great at bringing in those larger spatial data sets, the global data sets, and what does this perspective look like? What are these phenomena we're studying look like on that larger scale? And these are just wonderful tools.
No, I think Andy may have cut out there for a second. Give him a second to see if he comes back.
To use. Uh-oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze for a second. Are you there, Andy? Let's see. I think Andy we may have lost him. Did we lose Andy? I think we lost him. Maybe we can come back to Andy. I think he had a couple of slides remaining. I'm just stalling to see if he comes back, but let's move on to, we can maybe move on to our next presenter. We can return to Andy when he returns. Our next presenter is Elena Sparrow. Carol, can you move to the next slide, please? And I'll pass it on to you, Elena.
Okay. The Arctic and Earth STEM integration of GLOBE and NASA assets, some highlights, outcomes, and lessons learned. And I'd like to mention my co-Is, Katie Spellman, Melinda Chase, Javier Fochesado. And as Andy had mentioned, and others about how important it is for partnerships. We have partnered with the Association of Interior Native Educators, where Melinda Chase is the director of. And I also acknowledge our team members, Emily Sousa, Tori Brannan, Christy Buffington, Toru Saito, and Sonta Roach, and many others, Candy Dierenfeld and Bonnie Murray of NASA Langley. Next slide, please. So I'd like to acknowledge the Lower Tanana Dene people who have stewarded for hundreds and thousands of years and taken great care of the lands upon which the University of Alaska Fairbanks stands. And we're committed to working with them with respect and reciprocity. Next slide, please. So we want to present a few things, the learning framework using multiple knowledge systems for STEM learning and action, our workshops and courses and activities that braids indigenous, GLOBE, and NASA science, and some outcomes and lessons learned. Next slide, please. So we have the learning framework, and this is building on, because of the audience that we are working with, which is a lot of indigenous Alaska Native and other indigenous peoples from outside of Alaska. We decided to scaffold on what they already have, learning from elders. And so we have a learning framework that starts learning from elders and long-term residents and scientists about science and impacts of climate change. And discovering what youth and adults know, identifying key climate change issues, exploring, and during the exploration, using and doing cultural activities that is important to them as they try to design and an experiment that would be relevant to their communities, and how they explain and make sense of their data and apply it, and also turn it into a stewardship project, which they then share not only with each other, but with their community, like the tribal council within the school, and beyond their communities. Next slide, please. So we conduct professional development workshops because Arctic and Earth Science, like the other projects that we're presenting this morning, is for lifelong learners from pre-K to grade. And in our project, we decided that it was important to reach not only educators because of the fast turnaround rate of departures from remote and isolated village schools, we decided it was important for sustainability to include community members who are vested in that community. And so every year we have climate change in my community workshop, and we've started focusing them. Last year it was on water and fish, and this year it was on wildland fire and my community workshop. And again, we had educators come from from across Alaska. And in the past years, we've also had teams come from outside of Alaska, like Maine. And so there are 4 themes that we incorporate in the workshop. It's the traditional knowledge and ways, the wildfire learning resources, globe and environmental monitoring, and geospatial and NASA data and tools. And so we always have an elder, and also the elders that come with the teams of educators, formal and informal. And we always have the partnerships with the beyond the expertise of the team in our project, and work with them. And that's how we are able to support and focus and match make the expertise that is needed to help our teams of educators and community members to be able to engage the youth in their communities. Next slide, please. And so we apply the learning framework not only to the adults, to the educators and community members, but also to the students themselves that we work directly with, such as in fostering science camp, or we also had camps for middle school students on learning from birds, learning from Koyish, which was a blended Athabascan and Globe curriculum, and which will be made available soon. We also apply the learning framework in undergraduate climate research intensive for undergrad students, and also in 2 courses in the climate change course for Climate Scholars Program at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, as well as an introduction to watershed management. And these projects and courses result in research projects and poster or oral presentations at the end of the course or the workshop, and also in professional conferences. Like there's one going to be presented at AGU this December. We also have applied the learning framework in graduate and faculty training in culturally responsive research and outreach, those who are wanting to work in Arctic communities, such as in Alaska. Next slide, please. So one of the outcomes of the projects are the student presentations, how they share their findings and the results. We have had students who have started in when they were in kindergarten and now are in college going for a STEM career. This is Teslin Brennan. We also have had an undergraduate student who had been trained in one of the undergraduate courses and became a leader and trainer for middle school students in taking care of a creek that actually became recognized for a long time because it hasn't had any salmon come through after the restoration of the creek. And with the studies of these students, they were able to show that someone had come back. And it was through their observations and monitoring that this was made possible. And then, of course, we've had students who in middle school who have also gone to national and Globe Student Research Regional Symposiums, and also the International Globe Learning Expedition in Ireland and in other places. Next slide, please. So we've all, like the other SciAct projects, we have evaluation, outside evaluator. And so this year's evaluation demonstrated marked growth in STEM skills and confidence to ask a question, present data and observations, and use science to help their community. That is one of the things that it was important for the students and for the youth, that they knew that they were in Globe, they contribute to ongoing science, and that they're also able to use science and their learning to help their community. And for adult participants, both in the year before and in this year, they demonstrated strong knowledge and confidence on how to braid indigenous and Western approaches to using Globe and wildfire science in the topic of the year, and how to implement environmental monitoring protocols with their students and their youth. And one of the things that they shared that was really important to them was the sharing of successful projects by peers, by other educators who have worked with their students, and also how important elder daily reflections are during the workshop, and how indigenous-led projects were highly rated as activities. And also the value of reconnecting with a wider community, how important it is to network with more team members from prior workshops and cohorts. And so they wanted to benefit their own team members to benefit from this experience. And so we've had repeat participation, and they bring more and new team members from their place to be able to experience the climate change in my community workshops. And of course, we always present and also do workshops at conferences and other venues, such as during the school district professional development days. Next slide, please. And some lessons learned is that we need to center the priorities of the community we work with, and to consider process. How are we doing this? How are we working together besides products as deliverables? It's important to, especially as we braid multiple knowledge systems, it's important to consider both knowledge systems, not just the Western science, but the indigenous way, or whichever culture you're working with. And relationship building is crucial within the team, with the educators, community members, with youth, and with our partners, that just like the other projects I've mentioned, that it is important to, on many different levels, work with them on what they are wanting to share and provide, and do with respect, reciprocity, and trust. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elena. Always wonderful to hear from you and hear about the great work happening in Alaska, and how you braid knowledge and the partners that you're working with. So, and what inspiring stories from some of the students. Our next speaker is Robin. Actually, before we move on to Robin, I wanted to see, Andy, do you want to take one more minute to wrap up? I know you got cut off there. If we could, yeah, thank you, Carol. If we could back up. And I think, were we on the slide or just
it should be on
before,
that.
right there? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I think I talked to that. I don't know if you heard any of it. I unfortunately got
Yeah.
kicked out. Awkward. But I'm keeping my camera off in case that matters. So, anyway, if I mentioned this, we worked with MyNASA Data. We've collaborated with them, and we share these larger global data sets as well that they've curated and made available for everyone. And if you haven't used the Earth System Data Explorer, it's a fantastic tool. But this helps give our learners that global perspective as well as their local perspective. Let's go to the next slide, please. And this is just an example of some Terra rover data. We start at the left with that's a Landsat thermal image, sort of zoom into a single pixel. And, part of what we're about is what happens within that pixel. We call it subpixel variability. And that's so that center is 1 pixel. If you look to the right, the Terra rover plot, we're traveling through this with a Terra rover taking surface temperature measurements and actually seeing, in a Landsat image, all of that area is considered 1 temperature value. But if you look within it, there's actually a lot going on. And we think that understanding that is really important to students. What can I do with my pixel? What's making up this temperature? What could we do at our local school to help change that? And we introduced globe surface temperature protocol and the intensive observation periods as part of this, so they can also explore surface materials that way. And we think it's all part of a big picture of helping students put together, all the pieces of the puzzle to understand these phenomena. Now, next slide, please. So we also use globe protocols in our missions, our Aeropod missions, where we fly up and take measurements. We use atmospheric protocols. It's very important to understand what's going on in the environment atmospherically when you're flying a mission. It impacts the mission. We also use them with our Terra rover missions. When we take surface temperature measurements, it's helpful to look at things like soil moisture. How wet is the ground? Is it cloudy? Is it sunny? How warm is it? What are the things impacting that data set that you can't see in the map when you take it back? So that metadata is really important, and those globe protocols help us address that. Next slide, please. We've trained a lot of educators in Globe. I think that number is low. That's the piece of data I could find. Sorry about that. But we've used that in the Globe Observer app. We've worked with Globe Mission Earth with students at Boston University who, as part of their capstone projects, look at engineering components with Terra rovers and Aqua rovers and make modifications. And we've had quite a few really great projects come out of there. And we have lots of students that participate in the Student Research Symposiums and the International Virtual Science Symposium. They've gone on to present at American Geophysical Union and other national conferences. So that's been really exciting for us too. Next slide, please. And really in lessons learned, those collaborative partnerships are huge for us. Working with the other SciAct projects and with Globe has been a real boon to the Aaron project and helped us, extend our reach and have more resources to share with our learners. And the challenges, I think, one of the things we've learned is it's very hard to run a project of this scale and scale larger when you're building all of the technologies that you share with students unless you have commercial partners that provide those. So we're looking at maybe in the future working more with the science concepts and less of a focus on the technology, though that still will be in play, but making it more technology agnostic. So there are other platforms you could use to do this kind of work, and we're exploring that as a way of letting this grow in the future without necessarily having the heavy technology support that we've had in that we've provided in the past. And I think that's it on my slides. So might be one more there. Yeah, just slate at the end. There we go. All
Yeah,
right,
thank you so much, Andy. And yeah, I'm hearing a theme across all of these of partnerships and a lot of expanding the work through the partners. And so really interesting to hear. Thank you, Andy. And our next speaker is Robin Lee from the Gulf of Maine Research Institute. We have just a few more minutes before we jump into Robin's slides. I just want to encourage folks to put your questions in the chat if you have any, and our speakers can respond to them. Carol, can you advance to Robin's slides, please?
While you're pulling those up, I can get started. So my name is Robin Lee. I'm on the education staff at the Gulf of Maine Research Institute here in Portland, Maine. And our science activation program is something called Learning Ecosystems Northeast. We call it LENI for short. It's been around for a while. It's a very vibrant network of peer educator communities. So we do a bunch of different things in that. So we work with teachers, librarians, out of school educators, thinking about ecosystem stewardship. A few of the things we highlight about that is building climate and data literacy, really highlighting the relevance of NASA data and science within the network, fostering strong science interest, identity, and agency, and centering knowledge that's held locally in communities. And that plays out in our work through a lot of ways, including our globe work. You can go to the next slide. For this LENI project specifically, we have many partners. This shows some of the larger organizations and science and technology centers that inform our LENI work, that are part of LENI. But what's not represented here are all of the libraries and land trusts and schools and educators that engage in this network through these organizations. So is, like I said, quite a vibrant network that has been doing a lot of work for several years. If you go to the next slide, it will show you a little bit of our reach map. So that's showing all the places that folks involved with LENI have directly engaged in the last few years. So you can see we're largely in Maine, as well as New Hampshire and Vermont and Massachusetts and New York and a few other places as well. So you can go to the next slide. We are the Globe partner here in this area, and that's sort of an emergent practice for us. So we're, I think, a good example of what does Globe look like as we're starting to engage with it. And our work has really been informed by the stories we've heard from other organizations. So the work in Alaska really informs our approach. What we've heard from Toledo, what we've heard from Berks Nature Center in Pennsylvania, all of that has really shaped how we've engaged. You can go to the next slide. So as we started to have our network engaged more with Globe in the last year, we kind of brought it into the work we were already doing. And there's been a lot of interest in it. So we participated a little bit in Green Up this past year, trying to ID trees in the winter here in Maine. We brought in a scientist to go. So that's sort of like a live streaming scientist conversation with young people related to phenology. And we worked with making some contacts to the North American office. We brought in Globe Observer as part of our ash and hemlock stewardship work here already. We have a program called Nature Note, which Globe has adopted as well, in having young people make scientific observations. And so we use Nature Note as part of a student research journal that's published annually in a symposium. And also that serves our Globe work well. And then this past summer, through our partnership with West Ed and the NASA team, we had the Places Summer Institute. So we took the story we heard from Berks Nature Center of doing watershed investigations and applied that here. So we had a group of educators plus the NASA staff and the West Ed staff go down to our dock here in Portland and do those Globe protocols. We actually had the water tent come up from UNH as well. So got measurements right off our dock and then drove a couple miles and worked our way up through the watershed to really have the educators have experience collecting that data firsthand, so they feel like they can do it with young people and working just like the theme we've heard here of that local data, right? We collect the local data and then start connecting it to larger and global data sets. My NASA data is such a great resource for that. So we did that day-long investigation in our watershed, walking up through an estuary up to a waterfall. And then the next day we dove into ESD, that Earth Systems data system. If you go to the next slide, based off that, we've sort of had this growing interest in GLOBE the past year. So we decided we would kind of jump in this fall through the Green Down campaign. And so for those of you who aren't familiar, Green Down, you've got this color key at the bottom of the screen, and young people go out a couple times a week and hold it up to the same leaves week after week to notice those changes. And that has some really interesting climate connections too, as we see changes in climate, in temperatures and precipitation that impacts the colors. So we kind of plan to do it as like a whisper campaign. Just as we started to get our head around it, we really wanted to be responsive to how people want to use it. So we sent an email out just to our network and had 80 folks respond, which was more than we were expecting. So that's me in New Hampshire and even someone who was in British Columbia. So as we've moved through this, we have been sending out emails, we've been sending out data. I've been making videos each week based off of what people have been asking for, where they've wanted more information. And what's been nice about this is it's been really good for engaging elementary learners. We have middle school and high school as well, but because it's such a simple protocol, and so many educators are trying to get outside with young people in the fall, it's just a really easy way for even folks in pre-K to talk about their observations and connect to larger data sets. So if you go to the next slide, one thing we did is we pushed out these templates. So this is from a school. Templates that young people or their educators could fill out, telling us what they noticed and what they wondered. And everyone who was part of the campaign, it's actually still going on, can see what other folks are doing. We are using the GLOBE visualization system, but that hasn't been accessible to everyone. So here's an example. We said, what did you notice? What did you wonder? What are you looking at? So we have this group here in Fayette, Maine, that put in what they were noticing. And they were wondering if some of the leaves that were falling off, was that happening because they were handling them? Or are there other things going on? You can go to another slide. We have about 40 of these people have submitted. We'll only look at a few of them. This is right here in Portland, an urban school district, East End Community School. These were elementary school students. They went out and they noticed that some of the leaves are turning color before others. The edges are turning color before the centers. And they wondered why the maple trees right next to each other were doing different things. You can go to the next slide. We have here's Washington Academy Rural School, all the way on the other side of the state. They were getting outside at the same time. And something that's nice about this is folks are making local observations right at their own schoolyards or communities, but they're also able to see what's happening with other people, either in the state or in the region of their same age, making those observations. So it's been pretty exciting for that reason. And then we're trying to then give opportunities to start connecting to that larger data, right? What's happening? We use my NASA data, we use some other data sources too, and make those connections about changes in the ecosystem, about climate change as well. And hopefully, as people are starting to see themselves as scientists, that they can leap onto some other GLOBE investigations or our own community science investigations that can kind of build on this work over and over. I think we're just about at time there, so I will leave it at that, but we're happy to share more about our experience and really just want to highlight how much what we're doing has been informed by hearing the stories of other organizations using GLOBE.
Thank you so much, Robin. I just wanted to say it's just been so amazing to hear from all of our speakers today and to hear the variety of ways in which each of these projects is developing partnerships, creating connections, expanding those connections and expanding the use of GLOBE, and how inspiring it is to hear about the questions students are asking or the ways in which they're engaging with GLOBE, and educators as well. So thank you so much. Thanks to all of our speakers. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We don't have questions for our much time for Q&A, and I don't see any questions in the chat, but I just wanted to emphasize that our speakers also shared some lessons learned. Please think about those, and I really hope that you've all learned a little bit about ways in which GLOBE can be used in different regions, in different places, and with a wide variety of partners. Just a quick reminder that we do have 3 more learning sessions that are planned, and we will have more in the new year. So keep an eye out for that. And one last quick reminder, next slide, please, Carol. We do have feedback forms. Our team in the community engagement and support team takes your feedback seriously for these learning sessions. Please complete our feedback form for this session, and we will be in touch about more learning sessions in the new year. So thanks again to all of our speakers. The link to our feedback form is in the chat. And thanks to all of you for attending. And I look forward to more conversation.